Alright, wildlife vloggers, how many times have you been out in the field and the wildlife action has happened right in front of you and you've missed the shot because your settings weren't right and you weren't ready to capture that action when it happened? I'm going to share a few tips in this tutorial on how I prepare myself and my camera to reduce that happening. I mean, it still happens because wildlife is inherently unpredictable, but there are a few things you can do to make it much less likely. So, the first one is perhaps really obvious, and that is have your camera out in your hand on a strap like this Peak Design slide strap on your shoulder rather than away in your bag. Because guaranteed, if it's away in your bag and something happens, you won't be able to get the camera out quickly enough to respond to that situation and get the shot. Not only should you have your camera out, but I think that a lot of the time while you're walking around looking for wildlife, you should have your camera turned on as well. Now, that means you might run through batteries faster, but you're more likely to be ready to get the shot. So just have more batteries or a means of charging your camera with you. Have a spare battery in your pocket. And on the subject of batteries, change your battery and change your memory card before you have to. Don't wait until the card's full or the battery's telling you a warning that you can't fire the shutter. Because again, guaranteed that's going to be at a moment that's inconvenient for your shooting. So just get these things sorted ahead of time. Something that's also critically important is having the camera set up ready for the kind of shot that you anticipate that you're going to be getting. So if you're walking around and you expect birds to fly up in front of you, you want an autofocus mode that's appropriate for that, and you want a fast enough shutter speed already dialed in. I actually have a sort of set of default settings that I always set the camera back to after I've been shooting, and that way I know kind of roughly what the settings are before I even have the camera up to my face, so I can already start to dial them to what I need. It's especially important, if you've been doing, say, some astrophotography, to remember at the end of that shoot to dial your settings back to your defaults, because I can guarantee you, if you've been doing long exposures of the stars and you pick your camera up and you try to take some pictures of fast wildlife action, you're going to miss that shot. I can tell you from personal experience that, make sure you set your settings back to some form of defaults. And also, a lot of modern cameras, like this one has some here, sort of user settings. You have got some custom memory banks. Use them. Set up different settings for different scenarios, and then you'll be able to dial in a certain set of settings when something happens much more quickly. The other thing that may seem obvious is practice. You need to be able to see a subject out over there, bring your camera to your eye and be looking at that subject straight away. Not kind of dithering about trying to find it in the frame. And that can actually be quite a difficult skill to get at first. It's also the same when you start using binoculars. It's really hard to learn how to be looking somewhere and bring the binoculars to your face and still be looking at the same thing. And it's practice, it's muscle memory. So what you have to do, even if it's in your living room or looking out into your garden, you have to practice that. You have to pick a subject and just bring your camera to it. Pick another subject, bring your camera to it and focus, and just play around doing that and become more and more familiar with your equipment. And trust me, it'll get to the stage that you just bring your camera up and it's on subject. Much, much easier. Now, this is all about being prepared, and I've got notes, so I'm just going to check what else I need to say. And yeah, I think pretty much that is everything I wanted to say on the subject of cameras and the actual use of the camera, but there's one more absolutely vital thing that you need in your kind of armory of skills in order to make sure that you're maximizing your chance of getting the shot, and that is knowing your subject. If you're out looking for a specific subject, knowing something about its behaviour and how it might react when you first see it is absolutely invaluable, and will probably make the difference between you getting the first shot or two or missing if it's something that's really flighty. So yeah, do your research around your subject and practice with your camera, and then when you go out photographing wildlife, you've absolutely maximised your chances of getting the shot when you do get that encounter. So good luck in your wildlife photography, and hopefully these tips have been helpful. See you next time.